All right, this is Steve Borland, and this is the Natural Upgrade. Thank you for being with us today. We have a extra special guest today. Dr. Derek Middleton he is a genius in my opinion. I've had a chance to work with him over several of the last few months and had a chance to go through a number of different dialogues back and forth from a holistic perspective. Today, we're focusing specifically on nitric oxide. And so if you don't know what NO or nitric oxide is or why it was actually a Nobel Prize in 1998, then this particular, what I would call a miracle molecule, actually that's what the doctors are calling it, it's something you should hang around and find out a little bit more about. First of all, I want to introduce, though, Dr. Middleton and let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about kind of his story of origin and what got him into the healthcare industry and what actually got him passionate about helping other people. So, Dr. Middleton, thank you for being with us today. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you're at. I know you're down in beautiful Tampa, so you're probably wearing short sleeves today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what got you into wanting to help other people with their health and well-being.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be on with you again. Good to see you. Glad to see that you've made that nice transition out to wonderful Colorado with the beautiful woods and wonderful getting back to nature. That's a very key part of keeping things de-stressed.
Absolutely.
If I can put it from that standpoint. As you were asking me about my humble beginnings within that aspect, there was an event that occurred back when I was a young boy, when I was moved from Toronto, Canada to downtown Chicago, which was a very strong culture shock. And it wound up a situation where I was the kid that nobody wanted to know, wanted to understand, wanted to even get to know, and began a lot of bullying, beating out, and everything else. And within that concept or construct of what I was dealing with, I learned something that showed me my path was to help people, not hurt them, not be like these people, but rise above and move to a position where I could be a benefit to society and to individual. And that led me down a path of health and wellness in that aspect. I also had from the combination of the University of Illinois in Chicago and Guelph University, where I finished up in Canada. I had my master's in kinesiology, exercise physiology, and nutrition. So we're all worked together because as we're talking about certain aspects with nitric oxide and hypertension, that means that the body is not calm. It's in a hyper-constricted state, and now it's not relaxed. Therefore, it can't heal itself or regulate itself.
Got it.
So from that, it drove me to get my Ph.D. in what's known as Vibrational and Energetic Medicine through Quantum University.
When you're talking about something that's organic, an organic type product, and it's using some amino acids, let's break this down if we can and help them better understand with a little bit of education. When you're saying hypertension, and you're talking about it is a constricted state of the body or of whatever.
Vascular system.
Yeah, the vascular system. So that means that things are constricted as opposed to being relaxed. So can you give us a little more detail mechanically on what does that mean? And then if you're going to use, whether it's exercise, whether it's diet, nutrition, or having to go with a supplement because you're not doing enough diet and exercise, what is it that is in this nitric oxide gas that helps the constriction from this with the high blood pressure to a relaxed state? How does that happen?
As you're going through there, as you said, it is gas. Once it's produced, it's gone within less than a second. So It's a very quick response, but this nitric oxide synthase is the messenger, the enzymatic messenger that signals to the cellular wall of the vessel to dilate. Okay. So that messaging system is very critical because we do too many different things that constrict the vascular system that then cause our blood pressure to rise. So if you think about, and I like to use a vehicle or car as an analogy to understand, but if I went to the fuel system and I squeeze the fuel system that's trying to pump the gas from the tank into the carburetor and it's squeezed off. Now that pump has to work that much harder to try to get it. So it has to increase the pressure to try to move it through. So the same process in the vascular system is when we have inflammation due to poor diet, or we have buildup in the arterial walls that are constricting the flow of blood, then our blood pressure begins to rise. Or even more simply, when we are low on nitric oxide, then blood pressure rises because we don't have the endothelial relaxation of the vessel wall, and now it's built up. So now the heart, which is that main muscle, has to push harder, increase the pressure to get through that smaller opening.
Got it.
And it's almost like some of those aha things for us is we look at brain disease, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, things like that. And they are very strongly related to a flow of blood back through the brainstem up into the brain, getting all the oxygen nutrients that it needs to function properly. So if we had high blood pressure, that begins to squeeze off that flow. We're not getting proper flow up into the brain. Therefore, one side of the brain or the other isn't going to be getting everything it needs to function properly. And through brain scans, we can even see one side of the brain, mostly a lot of times the left side, which is our memory, shutting down. And we can see it.
Wow.
So if we could open, and I like to use, again, I love analogies. It's like you've got a hose with a sprinkler. And when everything's flowing properly, that thing is flowing back and forth from side to side, getting both sides of the brain safe. But when it's constricted, it doesn't have enough power to get over to the left side, so it comes up and then slops back down. So here now we are missing those key elements into that left side of the brain, and we begin to deteriorate and to shut down.
Wow.
So we really need to understand how important all of these factors are. And as you said, nitric oxide is that miracle element, that miracle gas in that cyst that we produce. And that's the great thing. But at about the age of 30, we begin to, even sometimes as young as 25, we start to see it drop. As a matter of fact, by the time I think we hit 40s, we're 50% of our normal production. Really? Every decade, we lose another 10%. So as you're moving up into your 60s and 70s, your production is now down to 80-85% of its normal flow. So now you can imagine why in an elderly population, we have so many chronic diseases, because nobody's looking at this one element.
Wow. So the nitric oxide deficiency that naturally starts happening, like you said, or it peaks at 30, and then you start seeing a pretty dramatic 50% decline by 40, 45, and then 10% per decade after that. So what you're seeing is, going back to I like your car analogy, is not only you're dealing with nitric oxide of the body not producing it naturally enough, and then of course not getting the exercise or not eating the right diet with the nitrates, like from beets or something like that produce nitric oxide naturally. So what we're doing is we're walking around with our bodies, not just from a heart standpoint with high blood pressure, but the lack of getting that nitric oxide even to our brain. There's where you're getting the brain fog, early stages of dementia. All of this is related.
It is all interrelated. That's why nitric oxide is such a key element. And I know you know this. This is your business. This is one of the key elements that you guys develop.
Right.
And understanding how important this is critical, because as we get older, it's happening. Whether you like it or not, it's happening.
Sure.
You don't have a choice. You don't get to something, oh no, I'm going to turn that up. Now you can slow it down or start doing things that will assist your body in producing. But, you were from the standpoint of the foods that we eat. I think the last time we talked, I had talked about, we used to get all of the nutrients that gave us just our basics in 4 to 6 servings of fruits and vegetables. Now it's 11 to 13. And even from that standpoint, because a lot of our dark green leafy vegetables is where we get that nitrate, but we also have to have the bacteria in the oral cavity at a proper healthy level to break that down and produce that. And we kill them off just by using mouthwash, just by using toothpaste, just by drinking fluoridated water. And then when the nitrate gets sucked down into the gut, we need the hydrochloric acid that's going to break it down and move it into the system and break it down small enough to get into the cell walls for the bloodstream, so that we can then start to produce the nitric oxide from the nitrite production, L-arginine and L-citrulline with a cycle.
Sure.
But If we are using acid blockers or we have other GI issues, the microbiome is a mess. Can you imagine how that all trickles down to that nitric oxide production and its ability to do its job?
You just touched on two things here that thank you for giving me that insight again. But the idea that the food that we're taking in, when we used to be able to eat the dark green leafy vegetables several decades ago, the value that we got of the nitrates and the other nutrients that were in the food because the soil wasn't so depleted. We were using artificial fertilizers, let's say, and maybe we weren't using GMO type modified food products. Our food had more value, dense nutrition.
Absolutely.
That's one. And then the second thing that you're now saying is when we have other things like a abnormal oral microbiome that most people don't know, the oral microbiome is the second largest to your gut microbiome. So if something here isn't getting the proper amount of saliva or the bacteria is being killed off or damaged before it can get and turn into nutrition, then we have a chain reaction problem that's 2-3x that I'm even imagining.
And that's the sad part. So even from the standpoint of, let's look at, as you said, the soil. We're not putting the nutrients back into the soil that we used to, and then those plants would pull it up and have it. Now we're basically down to, I think it's 3 minerals is all they're using back into the soil to grow the food. So we're missing that piece, but then it has to get transported from where it's picked to where it's sold. And as it sits there in the transportation, it loses nutrient value. As it sits on the shelf in the store before we buy it, it loses nutrient value. As it sits on your shelf or in the fridge at home, it loses nutrient value. Then by the time you get it, it's this small amount. Then on top of that, we have such a hectic lifestyle that we don't masticate our food properly. We don't give our bacteria and saliva time to break these things down in the jaw so that we can maximize the nitrates and nitrate flow and get everything out of it that we need to maximize our production of nitric oxide. Just the way our lives are.
So all of those compounds, we don't slow down enough, let alone taking 5 to 10 minutes to do some breath work and some meditation and slow things down and turn the electronics off. But it sounds like the deck is so stacked against us today, especially in America, where so many of the things are modified, and we talked about the soil depletion, all that kind of stuff. But help us, Doc, here from a standpoint of we have so many individuals that are looking for supplements today. Tell me your definition of supplement, and is that the right thinking process to help individuals that are trying to either A, prevent some type of disease, or to help them recover and move back toward a state of homeostasis? Is supplements the path?
Many years ago, I might have said, not necessarily, but let's look at the word itself, supplement. That word means that I'm going to supplement my diet with something to balance it out.
Okay.
So the key essence there is that I'm taking something that has been taken from natural plants, hopefully, because there's a lot of products on the market that are not, they're just quickly thrown together, but a whole food product that is taking the nutrients that I'm looking for, that I need, just to try to get enough to balance out. Because we talked about what's called the RDA or RDI a little while ago, and that's just enough so that you don't move into a diseased state. Yes. So if you don't get enough, you're going to move into that diseased state, which part of that is the lack of nitric oxide production, because we're not getting the nutrients that we need. So from that standpoint, we need, unfortunately now, more than ever, to supplement our diets with the proper nutrients that can give us everything we need to keep us in homeostasis. Because like I was talking to you before about the analogy of the car, our whole body is the actual dash of your car, that when something goes wrong, lights up and says, hey, your oil pressure is going up, which by the way is your blood pressure. And boom, there it goes. Or your temperature is, your thermostat is going up, which is fever, if we catch a fever. So we've got many things where our body is saying something is not right. listen to me. I don't do this for my bread, but for the heck of it. I am trying to tell you, fix the problem. And that comes down to adding in all the nutrients and making sure that we get maximum production of NO to do what we need to do. Because otherwise the body's going, help, I don't have enough. Now, many people, and I'm going to use this again as an analogy of humanity, is we think that, oh, I'll just take it. When I feel better, I can stop. Same thing applies as, let's say that you have an injury, like I did with my shoulders when I tore both rotator cuffs. I had to do physical therapy. Yeah. You may have experienced certain things. I know I have, and I've seen so many people. When you're done your physical therapy, you go, I'm done. Don't need to do it anymore. No, you've got to keep doing that, because that doesn't mean that it's finished, that it's completely healed. You had a bad injury. It's healed to the best of its ability, but you've got certain things within the construct of your physiology, i.e. your connective tissue, that is so much weaker than the muscle, which is the big powerhouses, that are the weak piece, and they're the ones that were damaged. So you've got to warm them up and strike and fire them up before you start doing your powering.
Got it.
So again, the same thing with supplements is, unfortunately, we can't get away with just taking it for a short period of time and go, that's all I need. Because as we talked about, you've already lost the production of nitric oxide. So let's say that you supplement and you're improving it. Number one, you're already, depending on your age, behind the 8 ball with 50% reduction. So how much do you need to take in for how much did you even get back there? As soon as you stop, it goes back down.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
So
again, from that same standpoint, you've got to look at your lifestyle, number one. Then if that lifestyle isn't exactly where it needs to be, and I'll go over that within my book in a minute. Yeah, nice little segue. The fact that you need to take care of you. One question I always ask a patient or a client is, who is responsible for your health? On a scale of 1 to 10, who's responsible? How responsible are you for your health? And people will go, let's fix stepping. Who else is responsible for it? My doctor? No, they're not responsible for your health. You are.
yes,
Your health is your job. Your body is yours. This is your temple. Treat it right, and it will treat you right. As you get into older age, many things are going to start to slow down and not function as well as they should. But you can slow that down in anti-aging by changing your lifestyle, changing what you put in your mouth, changing how you breathe, as you were talking about breathing exercises. We'll go over that in a minute.
Sure.
All these different pieces of the puzzle. But as I also mentioned a little while ago, is we are so hectic in our lives, especially younger people with kids, all over the place. Take them here, take them there, barely grab McDonald's, grab this quickly because I just don't have, I need convenience. I don't have the time. And so now we're getting stuff that is slowly poisoning us or wearing our systems down, and we're not doing what we need to do to stay as healthy as we can. Or even as we're talking about NOx, is to get the maximum production that we can at the age that we are with every possible means that we can.
Right. Well, you've given me some great insights. I love your analogies. So many people are approaching this from a wrong perspective, that if I just do this for a little while, and you're like, no, this is just a result of our bodies aging. Number one. Number two, the less nutritionally dense food products that we're able to consume. So that is a second mark against us. The fact that we're not correctly chewing and taking enough time to chew our food. So we're putting half, what would you call it, unbroken down food into our body that's not ready to break it down. You're not giving it long enough for the oral microbiome with saliva to actually get coated and start the process. There's number three-ish. Number four, then acid problems or microbiome problems in the gut that's not digesting properly. And then all of this stacked on top of the fact that your body's has a decreasing value of nitric oxide. So it's not something that you can go, I'm just going to take this for a little while and start feeling some better energy, because everybody will feel that because of the increase in blood flow. But this isn't something to just do it for a little while. This is something that you should supplement for the rest of your life, because your body needs it because of all these things stacked against it.
And we just said one thing that puts it all together. Lifestyle. Lifestyle is not short style, not for now style. It is lifestyle for the rest of your life. And I used this analogy before with exercise and how important it is in the anti-aging process. I went over that research study that they did and published in National Geography. I think that's where it's with Chris Hemsworth, and all the different extreme processes that they go through to try to get stem cell production and go on. Nitric oxide is that process. Nitric oxide is that anti-aging process, but it's all in lifestyle and exercise. As I was talking about cytokines, interleukins, messaging for the body to either tear itself down and prepare for death, or to make it young, healthy, and vibrant. Energize. Exercise is such a critical piece. And people just don't do what they need to do. It's a lifestyle thing. It's not just, okay, I did it, I got my weight down, I can stop.
No, it's an ongoing. And I love your perspective. It's not short style, it's lifestyle. It's something you do for life. Again, you make things so clear with your perspective. And I know it's because you have spent so much time, what I call going through the gauntlet of education, but then applying it practically so that people can use it. And we hopefully, when they watch this or listen to this, if they're on Spotify, that they will start adjusting for the long term. You have so much more, Doctor, and I know this is a short podcast. We could go on, not just for hours, we could probably go on for days or weeks because you have such an endless knowledge and how you wrap everything together. To me, obviously, we're going to have you back, talk about other different areas as we move through the podcast. What I'd love for you to do here as we're closing is, if someone just says, this guy is amazing, I need to hear about his book, I need to read his book. Tell us about your book. Tell us where they could start getting a jump start on their better lifestyle.
All right. One thing I want to mention just before is, as you say, it's like an eye-opening, okay, I got to do this. But that can be very daunting. Sure. And that's where a lot of people, though, I can't do it. And what I always tell people is that you don't have to be there tomorrow. All you got to do is take a step. Yes. And all it needs to do is be a baby step. And you define what that baby step is, because let's say that you've been sitting on the couch as a couch potato for the last 10 years. And now you're going, okay, I got to get up and haul. But getting up off the couch is already causing you to breathe heavily. Your blood pressure go up, especially at that point there. You're not making any knobs. You know, at the same point, if I can't go walk the mile yet, no, you can't. But walk around the couch maybe 2 or 3 times, sit back down, then get back up when you feel better. And then step by step, you get there. And what you want to do is to plan it out, break it down. Okay, here's my end goal. Here's where I am. My first step is this. My second step is this. My third step is this. And as you start to feel better, as you start to improve yourself, as you can see the benefits, then you can do more. And remember that your body will only take you as far as you ask it to. If all I ask it to do is to walk me to the corner and back, that's all it's going to do. You try to do a while, and then go, sure. It's a little harder than I thought because you haven't asked it to. So what you wanted to do step by step, and it'll get there. My life is called the 8 Pearls of Good Health. And as we've just talked about many of them, they're basically about lifestyle.
Yes.
We talked about eating the right kinds of foods, chewing your food, masticating it properly, giving it time to digest, all the different pieces of the puzzle, where to get your food from, and why you may need supplementation as you go on, because we can't quite get enough. Even as we talked about organic food, yes, it has a little more nutrient value or density than your traditionally grown. But remember, I talked about that, getting it from the farmer's market to the store, to your table, to the fridge, to the table, and eat it, it's already lost a lot of those nutrients. Sure. So again, you want to make sure that you get extra in. And again, I'm not saying go nuts and use a supplement to the point of too much, because anything that you take too much of can be detrimental. Yes. Little bit by little bit, and balance yourself out. Second one would be to drink water. Is very important. It's critical. When we're 70% water within the body, our blood is 80% water, and our brain is 90% water. No, our brain is 80% water. Our blood is 90% water. First, so we're water beings as well as electric beings. But from that standpoint of water is making you get enough water in. Not for the next guy, not for the guy that says, oh, I only need 8 glasses, but he's 400 pounds. No, he needs 200 ounces, bare minimum. So look at what it is you need for you. Then there are things on sleeping. But people feel, well, I can get by in 4 hours of sleep or 5 hours of sleep. No, you need to recover. You need to get REM-phase sleep for recovery, both mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yeah. So sleep is a very key aspect. Then we look to add breathing. Now, as we're talking about breathing properly, and for the production of NOx. The endothelial cells within the mucosal lining of the nasal passage, actually, as you're breathing oxygen in, will produce nitric oxide.
Wow.
And we've heard the old aspect of breathe through your nose and out through your life, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now we get to see why that statement came up. As much as you can breathe. And then add to that what we call belly breathing, because too many people do shallow breathing where only their chest moves when they breathe in. When the diaphragm that sits underneath the lungs needs to come down, push your stomach out, which is where you should see an extension or distension of the belly, that pulls that oxygen deep into the villi of the lungs. So again, proper breathing technique. Then we have exercise, which we've already talked about, and how critical that is, and so on, of why, if you follow those 8 rules, you will produce as much nitric oxide as you can, supplement as you need, but also to enjoy a lifestyle that will help you to reduce the aging process and slow it down for you.
Love it. You wove everything together. Thank you. So if you don't have the book, you've got to get the book. I've had the luxury of speaking with Dr. Middleton so many times. He's given me fast tracks on all this, but Doctor, thank you for hanging out with us. You've given us so many amazing insights, aha moments where I thought I was starting to get a good picture, and then you painted it even better and gave me a deeper 3-dimensional perspective. Thank you for spending the time with us. This nitric oxide, which you like to call NOx. I love that. I've heard other people call it NO for no. I like NOx. It actually gives a little better explanation. It is so critical for everything that we do in our lifestyle. And so thank you for spending time with us and giving us a few moments of your day. And I hope you'll come back and spend more time with us down the road and give additional insights so everyone can have that, like we talk about, helping an individual unleash their best self and do it naturally.
Absolutely. And you know why I call it NOx? Because it knocks high blood pressure out of the way.
Oh, I love it. Now you've got jokes too. That's outstanding. I love it. It's perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
No problem. Thank you. You care.